Show how I feel anymore. I think I'm homesick, but I don't know how to go back to the place that's gone. With a change of winds, my heart fell and I can't find it. Feeling empty, spending days and nights of silence, 'cause no one can explain how I feel.
So, a week later, Shizuka met with Shu in private, and so Shizuka is just like, and now, some other girl joined him as his maid or something. Why does my daughter stay around that boy? If only she listened to me and avoid making similar mistakes like I did. And so Shu just gives a nonchalant, and essentially he's just kind of annoyed at Shizuka for, wasting her time and on being basically just a whining lady. That's just kind of how it is. And so Shizuka just continues on, and she's just like, I mean, honestly. And as, Shizuka kind of yapped to herself, Shu just in her head thinking something else entirely. And she's just like, does this bitch do nothing but complain? I swear, if she wasn't keeping tabs on him, I'd get her out myself already. And so Shizuka's still yapping on, and she's like, the fact that he proposed to my daughter and had sex with her infuriates me beyond belief. And so Shu had enough, and she's just like, enough. I'm here for information on the kid, not about you and your daughter's relationship. Besides, we have enough info as this now. In fact, our leader is expected to make an appearance to him soon. And so, you see in this weird-ass facility, wherever this place is, and essentially you hear Fu Li come through out of nowhere and just be like, my gosh, is that chick still blabbing off to Shu? I seriously don't know how she puts up with her. And so this new girl just like, because I told her to do so. Besides, it's almost time. And so, you see Boyoko kind of come through into the mix as well. She finally is revealed. And so when it comes down to it, Boyoko just like, remember, he is not our enemy, but the company he keeps is. That's why it's important to know what he is doing. And so Fu's just like, but waiting around is boring! I want to fight again! And so Boyoko's just like, I could tell. Like I said, we will engage with them soon. We will head out tomorrow and see for ourselves how we should respond. He needs better people to guide him against despair than what he currently has. And so Fu's just like, you mentioned that before about those guardians. Kaiho and Shitoya, right? And so Boyko's just like, yes. They single-handedly made things worse the moment they abandoned their posts. And now, they fight amongst themselves instead of seeing the bigger enemy. And that is why we will destroy them both and lead that boy into the right way. Anyway, we basically get to the second act. Ever since Saki fought Fu, Jay basically been taking his training a bit more seriously with Saratame. I see. Then I'll respond in kind! X-Wave. The blast pushed her back more than she even expected and even blinded her. But when it was over, Jay's hands was basically shaking intensely from the electricity that was stinging his nerves in his hands. And so Jay's just like, and so Saratoma's just like, you're improving every time we train. Well done. That X-Wave attack is a bit wild in its targeting, but I'm certain you'll sharpen it up. And so she smiled at his progress and thought he's really shaping up to be what the multiverse needed. And so we go into the next act afterwards, and we see Aoki watching Jay and Saratome train together. And Aoki to herself is like, he's been improving a lot recently. I wonder if I could do the same. And so she'll tell you out of nowhere, just like, Matt, she's not giving you what you want. Get used to it. And so essentially, she's just pausing behind her, and she continues on, and it's just like, it's what I came to expect from her. You should do the same. And so Aoki's just like, I had just enough of you talking down on her. She made a bad choice, but give it a rest already. We need to stop despair, and she's doing her part. She may not be perfect, but she is doing way more than you. And if you try to do anything to my teacher, and so essentially she's telling you just to cut her off and just like, so that's how it is. I knew you felt familiar. And so Aoki's just like, what? Stop changing the subject. And so she tells you just like, the look of determination, the faith of Kaiho in your eyes, it was just like mine back then. The difference is, I'm no puppet unlike you. And so Aoki's just like, what? And so she tells you just like, you never question why you need Saratome? Why she is always on your mind? Simply put, you were born from her. She must have made you from Jay. And so Aoki's just like, you're lying. And so she tells you just like, didn't ask yourself this. In your dream, who was the first person to meet you? Was it Jay or Kaiho? And so Aoki was basically slumped from this, and she was like, Saratome. And so she told you just like, you were born from dreams, but not Jay's. She must have used him some way and dreamed of you herself. I may not know all the reasons why she did that, but one thing is certain. You are a copy of me. How I was back then, when I believed in her. Which makes this more sad on her part. What? Did she bring you to life just because she felt guilty over what she did? She killed our team, and so she chose to run away and make this copy of me. That's even more of a reason why I refuse to forgive her. And Aoki just stumped by all of this, and she's just like, I knew I cared about her a lot, but I could never have imagined this. And so she told you just like, well, now you know. In any other instance, I should kill you, but it's a waste of time. Just know your existence is disgusting. I'll never be naive like you again. So take my advice to heart. Change or die. Because as long as Kaiho's around, she'll make a fool out of us and bring us all into despair. And as she said that, she just leave the room, leaving Aoki just kind of deal with these emotions herself, not necessarily knowing what to do. And so we get to the next act, and we see Sage and Ataru kind of chilling together in a shop outside the city where the whole Safe Haven main headquarters is. And Ataru was basically keeping Sage company as she kind of motes about her whole letting Jay down sort of thing, and you know, kind of dipping off in the last episode. And so essentially Ataru's just like, are you still going on about your self-loathing? And so Sage's just like, I can't get over it. I let him down and wasn't in control. I should have been better. Not only that, I could have killed him and Yukari. I don't know if I could be used to him anymore. And so another gloomy girl decides to enter the fray, and it's May. And so she's just like, if you're gonna mob in my store, then you can just leave. And so Sage is like, my apologies. I can't even stay out of people's way. And so Ataru is just like, you are overthinking this. I know Jay will welcome you with open arms. If you're that worried about going back, then you should dress up for his pleasure. And so Sage just basically started imagining what that would end up being. And it's just her being a bimbo. And so she's just like, Master, I need punishment. Please use my body and rewrite my code with your sperm. And so Sage starts getting realistic. And she's like, I'll think about it. That said, right now, I just want to make it up to him. That girl in green. I never want her to use me like that again. And so Mage is like, girl in green? Did she have a jacket? And so Sage is like, you seen her? And so Mage is like, only in hearings. All I know is that someone who looked unnatural has been wandering around the city at night. Someone reported it to Task Force Rose, but nothing came up. And so Sage was like, someone unnatural? How sure are you? And so Mage is like, my story is an information hub and all the news I could ever care for is typically reliable. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. What do we do, Sage? And so Sage is like, I'll make this right. May, please, tell me where she frequents in the city. So that night, they basically had a whole stakeout trying to figure out where Shu Hao was. And essentially, they found her in the park just sitting there. And so Sage herself is like, just what are you waiting for? And so essentially the air was tense despite how quiet the scene was, until a person of interest showed up. And so Shu Hao was just like, report. And so Shizuka's like, before I tell you, there is something I've been needing to say. You gave me your word that you would get that boy away from my daughter, yet you haven't done a thing about it. So, I refuse to give you any more insight until you finally do something. And so she was just like, oh. And so Shizuka just continues on. She's like, is that not what you promised some time ago? And so she was just like, promised? I don't care what he does. I certainly don't owe you anything with your worthless information. And so Shizuka's just like, what? What are you talking about? And so she was just like, you're not even providing what we actually need to know. You think you care about your daughter, but you just want to control her. And so Shizuka just like, that's not what... And before she could continue, she just came back in and she's like, if she saw you now, do you think she would thank you for tearing her last hope apart in front of her face? You've been a burden to her since you came here. And so Shizuka just kind of getting stun locked. She's just like, you... And so she was just like, besides, she can get fucked in front of your face for all I care. That would be the least of your worries, considering you work for us. As far as I can see, you've been a hostage and haven't realized it. And so Shizuka was caught off guard. She's now kind of understanding, yeah, she's messing with forces she really shouldn't have been involved in. And so she was just like, this can't. And so essentially, Sage and Ataru is seeing this, and Ataru just like, that woman? Who? And so Sage is like, my assailant. And Blue's mother? She's working with her? Ataru, keep watch. I'm sending an emergency message to my master's devices now. And essentially, as we get to the last act, we essentially go back to the whole student council room and we see Aoki kind of just crying to herself the entire day. She was stuck in there for the whole day and just did not move at all. Just been sobbing over what Shitoya said. And essentially, Blue walks in and she's just like, Aoki? And so Aoki's just like, Blue? You're here? And so Blue just see her in tears and she's just like, you okay? And so Aoki's just like, no. No, I'm really not. I'm sorry, Blue. I just need to be alone right now. And so Aoki leaves the room, and that leaves Blue a bit disheartened to see her friend like that. But then, suddenly, a distress sound came from the laptop, and Blue took a seat to see Sage's message. And so Blue began reading the message that Sage put out, and was surprised seeing what her mom was doing. And so Blue was like, Mom? How could you? And so essentially, her emotions overwhelmed her, which led her back into the dark place of despair that came over her, and despair Blue came out to play again, and all she says was, traitor. And that is essentially all we got for this episode. Which, first of all, let's talk. So, first off, sorry this episode took so long, because I was really out here trying to figure out what the hell do I want to do when it comes down to, this story. And I knew what to do, I knew where to go, but I wanted to make sure everything was in order, right? And in terms of like what I would want to see happen and how things kind of go and stuff like that, right? Plot points are important. And then another thing to kind of bring up is essentially that I really wanted to just jam in a lot of character stuff that has been addressed before, but never really been addressed in a way. And this gives Aoki something to do a bit, because she really is probably like the least developed character out of anybody of Y, and it does kind of go back to the old episodes where Aoki first appeared in, and why you seen, Saratome's feet in her dream, why Saratome's usually always around her, why I use her and Saratome in like different little edits and stuff when I do use them. And that kind of gives you the answer, because she was born from her, essentially. Born from a dream, essentially. She's like one half Saratome, another half Jay. So that's essentially how that was, and that's kind of what I've been aiming at recently for quite a while. So that's just kind of how it is. And hell, you can even see hints of that if you have eagle eyes back before the whole vacation started, when they went to the beach and such. Why Aoki was there in the infirmary. And Jay kind of knew it as well, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Then, another thing I kind of really want to talk about just a little bit quick, and this was somebody else's idea that I really want to give credit to, which is Sean Pai, about making Team Ruby come back in some shape or form as a task force. And that's what Task Force Rose is going to be, which I think you can put that together. So, yeah, definitely it's going to be a different spin on Ruby's characters and things and sort of like that. Because I think the idea of them being Jay's personal task force sound kinda dope. And he can also get some ass that way. I feel like that would be an easy way. Easy access. Haha. But when it comes down to it though, yeah, that's really what I've been wanting to think about for a while to do with Ruby and their characters for a minute. Because it'd be a waste to only just bring them into one season and then never really talk about them again after they lost their memory. So that's like a whole nother thing. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been trying to cook up. I just need to figure out an outfit for them now. But for the most part, that's kind of, what it is on that front. And lastly, as far as the next episode goes, I'm gonna do my best to bust my ass to kind of get the next episode kind of coming, a bit quicker. Because I already have an idea of where I want to go in the beginning part of next episode, and even to the middle. I just got to figure out where I want to end things. So there's definitely going to be that. But that's really all I want to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the button in case you're on the way out. Also on my socials, and you'd like to donate to the channel, go buy a cash out, it's available as well. And until then, it's Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.